Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Donald Trump is returning to power for the second time as the 47th President of the United States of America. Now, he plans an immediate shock and awe blitz of orders and actions meant to begin dramatically changing the course of the country. Now, what has happened is that now Trump will also be only the second president since the founding of the republic to reclaim the White House after being defeated for re-election following Grover Cleveland. Apart from that, several things have happened. The executive orders have become the biggest talking point. That immediately after the swearing in, there are close to about 100 executive orders ranging from energy to immigration and several other things which are lined up. But what does Donald Trump's return to power for the second time mean for India, mean for the world? We'll try and discuss all of this. Joining me now is Professor Aftab Kamal Pasha, who's been a diplomat and an international affairs expert. So thank you so much for joining. We have Sanjay Kapoor, who's an international affairs expert, veteran journalist. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining. And we have S. Srinivasan, editor-in-chief of the Federal Group. Thank you, Srini, sir, for joining. And I'll begin with Professor Pasha. Professor Pasha, what do you think is the real meaning of Trump's return to power for the second time? And should the world be cautious, or should the world just wait and watch with a bated breath, given the fact that Trump is very, very unpredictable? So everyone needs to be extra cautious at this point of time.
Yes, thank you for inviting me for the channel. As you rightly pointed out, Donald Trump is the second president to get elected after a gap. But it is in this century that in spite of social media, in spite of all the opposition, the court cases and all the hurdles, he has been able to prove that he is the most popular leader to lead the nation, and as he claims, to make America great again. So apart from this, he also has a unique distinction of having his Republican Party virtually controlling Senate and the House, which is a very rare phenomenon for a president. And this ensures a more or less smooth passage of the bills, the executive orders which he wants. So the legislative hurdle, the gerrymandering and all the hurdles which previous presidents had, because either the Republicans controlled the Senate or the House was controlled by the Democrats. This is unprecedented in recent times that a president has from his party, virtually smooth going for all the things which he aspires to do in the coming 4 years. Coming to the global level first, we have to keep in mind, despite his eccentric behavior and outlandish statements on Greenland and Canada and Panama and Mexico and China on tariffs, including India and Panama Canal, so on and so forth, I would emphasize his no war policy as something very significant, because in order to make his slogan, America Great Again, he needs to disengage from the hot wars, from the involvement which America unnecessarily got into Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, and a host of other countries, which has drained its economic resources, human resources, and political influence, diplomatic clout, so on and so forth. With the result, you see, the so-called rules-based order which America wants to uphold has eroded over the last couple of years, with more and more global South countries moving away from America as something of a political, diplomatic untouchable. So that has led to the strengthening of BRICS, and more countries who were otherwise allies of the United States are veering towards BRICS and away from the so-called rules-based order. So this is the second big picture we can capture. the immediate focus would be on the Ukraine issue, as he has been articulating. He wants to put an end to this war, which he had repeatedly said that if he was president in place of Biden, this would not have happened. So it is a very big statement. So despite all the American military, economic, diplomatic support and mobilizing of the NATO support, global support against Russia, the Ukrainians have not made much headway. In fact, they have lost more territory, and their bargaining capacity is much weaker now if they want a peace agreement with Russia, and that will be on Russian terms now. So it is a
Right.
big net loss for America during Biden. The third one is already we have seen things unfolding in the West Asian Israel-Palestine conflict, where even before he has taken charge, he sent his envoy, and he had to tell in very blunt language Netanyahu that he has to accept the ceasefire. And the initial hiccups also brought sharp reaction from Donald Trump. And although in his first term he had shown complete support to Netanyahu and Israel on the issue of closing PLO embassy in Washington and then shifting American embassy to Jerusalem, in the annexation of Golan Heights and Abraham Accords with Bahrain, UAE, and Morocco and Sudan. But this time, I think mostly it will be confined to Saudi Arabia and Israel. He has
Right.
promised to work for the
But
normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel.
but if I may interrupt you, one quick question, and then I'll move on to Sanjay also. That what does Trump's return to power for the second time actually mean for India? Now, how is Prime Minister Modi going to recalibrate his equations, his dynamics with Donald Trump, given the fact that he's not been invited personally to the Xi Jinping? And now, what does it mean in the coming days? How will India take those steps to rebuild? There's a perceptible cold war, it seems, between Modi and Donald Trump now, because of all what has happened, in the run up to the swearing in. How will India really recalibrate, and how do you really see the Indo-US ties now in the coming?
Yes, you see, the message from Trump is very clear by not inviting his so-called so close friend, the Indian Prime Minister. It is a clear message that there are a lot of things which needs to be ironed out between the two countries, and more focus needs to be given to the bilateral relations. Although I have talked on this non-invitation on a number of times, but now it is clearly emerging that it is Ambani who is going to be a key player in repairing or strengthening Indo-American relations, because already not only he has bought the ticket and gone there, but he also has had a meeting. I don't know how far, how long it was, but even a short meeting would indicate that he has been able to establish a rapport, being one of the first global
Sanjay,
business
can you
leaders to interact with
Sanjay,
him.
can you mute yourself? Sanjay, can you mute yourself, please? Yes. Yes, Professor
So,
Kaushik.
in that way, instead of MEA, of course, protocol-wise, MEA will be at the forefront to address the Indo-American relationship, which seem to be under cloud for a number of reasons, including Hindenburg report, the Khalistan issue, Pannoon issue, and then revealing of the expensive gifts our Prime Minister gave to Joe Biden and his wife. And the sanctions which Biden administration has imposed, lifted in nuclear field, but imposed on computer companies allegedly for trading with Russia because of Ukraine sanctions. And also in our neighborhood, we have seen, America being our strategic partner, they have ignored our vital interest in Bangladesh, and they seem to be supporting this government, which is hell bent on anti-India policy in a number of issues, like initially the Maldives also did, Sri Lanka also did. Pakistan, of course, they manipulate the military there with the ISI, so on and so forth. So in that way, Biden did, in the name of strategic partnership, maximum damage to NDA and particularly Narendra Modi himself targeting. But now, hopefully, the Prime Minister himself will take the initiative. Perhaps Ambani must have already sought the dates for a first summit meeting between the Prime Minister and Donald Trump. But as you know, he is a transactional president. He has talked about tariffs and India misusing the American market by exporting and buying less. So he will expect us to give concessions in trade, in arms import, and in many other fields, which we should be prepared to negotiate and go an extra mile, because there is no other alternative unless we stand up and say no to America. We are vulnerable because of a number of factors: China, Pakistan, neighborhood, so on and so forth. We need American friendship. We need American support, not only directly but also indirectly through Quad, because the potent threats remain on our borders. We need to have America on our side, and America also believes that it is India which is going to swing the balance of power in the world. As far as China is concerned, they will not undermine our Indo-Russian trade and military relationship, but at the same time, we need to have tilt towards the United States, but with conditions. These are the things we need, and we must have a respectful, healthy relationship with mutual respect and mutual benefit.
Sanjay, I'll come to you. Stephen Miller, who's the Deputy Chief of Staff of Donald Trump, he was briefing the press where he spoke about some sweeping suit of immigration actions. Then he also spoke about how many of Biden's actions and orders will be reversed. Now, and he also said that they all will become null and void. Now, does this sort of a posturing bring chaos, or will Donald Trump be able to lead America to a more orderly world? Because that is the biggest point of contention. That is the world going to be more chaotic with the decisions which Donald Trump takes, or will there be some semblance of sanity given the fact that he's known as an unpredictable president?
Neelu, thank you for calling me for this program, and good to hear Dr. Pasha speak his mind. I think the world would be far more chaotic. What we are getting into is not what we know. He is a right-wing president. We don't know the definition of right that he has in mind. He is totally undemocratic, although he has come to power through democratic means. But you take it from me, he will do things that we can't even imagine. He is a white supremacist. He doesn't like other colors. As I said, even in the past, he doesn't like the brown and the blacks and others. So India need to worry. Why was PM not invited by him? He has to see whether what kind of color he flaunts. So there are issues, there are layers, and with layers that many things we don't encounter, because we are living in a world where there is some order based, rule based order where things happen according to certain set norms. But with Mr. Trump coming in, and he's the boss of everything, if you look at it how he conducts himself, there's hardly anybody who's behind him. Elon Musk jumps around, does many things, but I think his role would be confined. Trump is his own man, and this time he's far more organized than what he was in the last time. I don't know whether you're aware, he's come with the Heritage Foundation Article 25 to tell him exactly what he wants to do. There's an army of supporters that is also built around the entire thing, how they want to change the US. So it'll start unfolding very rapidly, I can assure you. We don't even know. There are speculation which is there. There is a lot of fear that is being raised among the minority, among people of different proclivities, ideological proclivities, and others, and they don't really know exactly how Mr. Trump is going to play out. There are people who might be just ready to take over the kind of setup that is unimaginable. All this January 6th crowd, which will go scot free once again, they may be the ones who will be ruling the US. So it's a very dangerous situation. I mean, don't think that will be all would be normal, everything would be like looking good. And we are seeing it from the perspective of foreign policy. Foreign policy would be all that will really help Mr. Trump do a few things that we can't imagine. The reason why he keeps talking about China, because China has become a real formidable power. It has the ability to stand up to United States of America, unlike other nations. Russia is there. I mean, without a doubt, Russia represents a military power, but India, unhappily, is not in the same league. And as Dr. Pasha pointed out, we need US in many ways to counter or to counterbalance the threat that comes to us from China, from Pakistan, and we need a great amount of support from the US. But if the US is going to behave in the most amazing, in an abhorrent manner from our standpoint, from the point of view of what we stand for, then we don't know what to do. In fact, we have to start fortifying ourselves in the kind that we haven't done in the past.
Right. Breaking news coming in at this point of time: the Donald Trump meets Joe Biden at White House ahead of the swearing-in ceremony. This is piece of news coming in from CNN currently right now, and of course, the oath-taking ceremony is at noon, which is somewhat like 11:47 EST. Coming to Srini sir now, the Srini, what does Donald Trump's second term actually mean for India, and how is Prime Minister Modi going to take the things forward? Now, is Donald Trump going to be more empowering? Will he overshadow Prime Minister Modi in many of his decisions he takes? What can we really expect as far as the Indo-US ties are concerned?
Neil, he's going to take over in next few hours. I mean, you want to know what would be his thing about India. There's been very little information, which is, I mean, I think India is still to figure, as far as his immediate takeover is concerned. Right now, there are more moves which is happening, which are domestic in nature, and also, the first executive orders he's going to sign. He has said that I'm going to sign, as many orders as possible till my hand breaks. That's the kind of a thing he's going to do. So that's where the focus is right now. I think India, obviously as Indians we are concerned and we want to know what would be the relationship between the two countries. But I think we still have, we have to wait and watch how it develops. But yes, of course, there are some. I won't say that there is a cold war like you described between Modi and there is no cold war. Of course, there is a certain the relationship, certainly the entire thing which was earlier touted upon as a personal equation, and that seemed to be missing. The very fact that he is not there, Modi is not there in the inauguration, so that certainly makes it clear that the relationship which was touted earlier is not there. And obviously, it is going to be more and more transactional because by very nature, Trump is very transactional and he would like to make deals. He loves making deals. So obviously, he exert more pressure on India to arrive. But right now, his focus, as I said, is on China. He has threatened China of 60% plus tariff. But some other discussion, diplomat was saying that already some backroom discussions are open on with China. So it appears that some of this could also be posturing to strengthen America's equation vis-a-vis China. But this time you have to take Trump far more seriously than he was as a 45th president, because he has got a massive mandate. And he has also returned with a lot of learnings, what he had in the previous avatar. The way the bureaucracy, his own bureaucracy behaved, the way he had to, circumvent many issues. This time he is far more, determined, I feel. And he would like to certainly leave a certain, his name in history. So, of course, the methods are very different. For instance, Israel Hamas deal, which doesn't seem to be happening. Netanyahu had his doubts, but then after 3 days, yesterday we saw the first exchange of the I won't say prisoners, captives. They have been released. So that process has begun now. Now, I really wonder, there are other outstanding issues as before him. One of the biggest is the world is not same as he left in as the 45th president. World has changed and pretty messy now. There is a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. There is, Israel is very, though it has managed to, win this round by taking action against what the Americans called as proxies of Iran. But then he has to deal with Iran issue. That question is still open. And then the biggest threat for us is, they feel it is China. And also on the economy issue, he has to deal with it. So there are a lot of outstanding issues which he has to handle. And where does India figure? Obviously, India will figure. The relationship between India and US has been improving over the years as various presidents after Clinton have been far more sympathetic towards India. And then the relationship has also been improving. But then there are areas of concerns. For instance, I personally feel that nothing much will happen for legal immigrants. It's only the illegal immigrants against whom action would be taken. But then there are about 17 to 18,000 Indians who have exhausted all legal options, and they could be deported. And if that happens, if plane loads of those people come, it will be quite a politically embarrassing situation for India if it actually happens. And then there are other 7 lakh plus people who have been in the illegal immigrants list. But then America also needs immigrants to run their own backyard. All the works are being done.
True.
So they need immigrants to run their economy. The other thing is, Trump may say that I'm going to impose 60-70% tariff on China and 20% on Europe and other countries. But then the other point is that it's going to be expensive for Americans, from lawn mowers to snow heating equipments. Most of what America has is all imported. So their own domestic economy will, the prices will go up. Already people there are suffering from, cost of inflation. So that will also add to that. So I think we have to wait and see how much of this is bluff, how much of this is bluster, how much of it he actually intends to implement in the coming days.
Yes, I'll come to Professor Pasha that, Trump has oscillated almost, between the promises of a golden age and then he's vowed for vengeance. Now, do you see him at all being balanced? How will he maintain this position of balance? On one hand, he's talking about a vengeance. On the other hand, he promises, gold to the people and make America great. Are we going to see a middle ground as far as Trump's posturing is concerned?
Yes, I mean, that is the compulsion of the office which he is holding now. Because during election, he was rhetorical. He made outlandish statements on immigrants and deporting them and hundreds and thousands, so on and so forth. That was mainly to pacify the white supremacists who were quite agitated because of Biden and Kamala Harris's policy on allowing hundreds and thousands of immigrants from Mexico and from all over the world. But you see, I've been there over the last 4 years. Every 6 months I've stayed there, and I've seen all these immigrants. It is not that they have all become criminals or they are rapists or they have come to wreck the American system from within. They all meaningfully contribute to the American economy, whether it is in the construction industry, who are very important. Without Mexicans and outsiders, the construction industry in America will collapse. The transport sector, the service sector, and agriculture, for example. Without these outside immigrants, some of them illegal, the agriculture sector will collapse in America, virtually in Texas, in Arizona, in other parts, Colorado, etc., etc. Even in California and New York, their contribution is vital.
Right. One quick word on the citizenship law, where whoever is born in America gets an automatic citizenship, and President Donald Trump has been saying that he's going to change that law. Now, how is that going to manifest? Very quickly, and then I'll take the concluding comments from Sanjay and Srini sir. Yes, Professor Pasha.
Yes, you see, many people from around the world found this loophole as very lucrative, and many families, pregnant women would come there even on a visitor's visa. They would deliver children, and automatically they would get citizenship. So this has been talked about in American administration for quite some time. Not only Trump, but also previously also. Now I think he is going to clamp down on this. Many Indians also benefited from this, especially from Punjab. But I would just want to emphasize one point, and that is why I am repeatedly emphasizing his no war policy is because last time he was virtually a hostage of the neocons. All supporters of Dick Cheney and Paul Wolfowitz, John Bolton, and others. Now he has been successful in eliminating all of them. He has not touched even a single neocon in his administration. And secondly, he has been able to identify the deep state, which tried to strangulate his policy last time. He has identified and called it as mafia of Washington, and he will clip their wings. So he knows now what are the internal threats which he faced last time, and he's going to tackle with that. So in that way, he will focus more on the economic situation to fulfill his electoral promise, that is making America great.
Now, constant updates are coming on the swearing-in ceremony. What we've come to know is that Melania Trump has also come with Donald Trump, and they've arrived at the White House. They're being welcomed by Joe Biden. And the details coming in as to what is really going to happen, what comes after the swearing-in ceremony, that is also very important. After the swearing-in, Donald Trump will take part in the signing ceremony in the president's room, a tradition which began in 1981 with President Ronald Reagan. And this event marks one of the most official actions of the newly sworn president, where he signs nominations and various memorandums of proclamations. And following the signing, a luncheon will be held, and Trump will take part in the review of the troops before heading to Capitol Hill to join the inaugural parade. Those are the details coming up on all the websites. Later, Trump and his wife will participate in a signing ceremony at the White House and deliver remarks at the convention center. And the evening will conclude for the first dance at the Liberty Ball, followed by participation in the Commander-in-Chief Ball and the United Station Ball. And the day will end with Trump's return to the White House. This is a sequence of events which will follow over the next couple of hours. Sanjay, coming to you now for the concluding comments. A lot has been said about Elon Musk's presence. People have been comparing this with a kind of monopoly we see in India. What do you really have to say very briefly on this particular thing? Because Biden did mention about, the concerns around oligarchy rising in America.
We don't know how this is going to play out. Never before has a person like Elon Musk, although he gave a lot of money during the campaign, given the kind of space as Trump has given. And where are you? Sorry, phone call came. So much of space has been given to Elon Musk, and he indeed could, the way he has been calling up the German right-wing party AFD. He has given waves to the British Prime Minister Starmer, and he is really going after many other things. His presence is very, very polarizing as well as divisive, and we don't know how this is going to play out. If they manage to win Germany for AFD, then you would know that the cloud that there would be considerable, and there would be a ripple effect all over the world. Similarly, for England, if the Starmer government falls, then you have to figure out how it will really impact rest of Europe. It'll be far more serious. And see the list of people who have been invited by Donald Trump. They're all right wingers, rabid right wing. So it is turning out to be far more than what we had thought it would be. And Trump is not pulling punches. He's really want to ensure that in his reckoning, in his worldview, people who belong to what is called the deep state are sidelined, punished, whatever, and he would try to turn everything upside down. And I think Tulsi Gabbard, as the national intelligence lady head, would be to just spot these people, ensure that they are sidelined, marginalized, or arrested, Although Mr. Biden has gone about giving a blanket protection for everybody who was associated with him, even those people who took a photograph with him have been identified and will get protection or have been given relief of some kind. But these are days where I think vengeance would be top on the mind when it comes to Mr. Donald Trump.
Right. All right. I'll come to Srini sir now for the concluding comments. A lot of hectic activities over the next couple of hours. But what can we really say in terms of the relationship between Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump now? And then after this, we'll end the program. Yes, Srini sir.
Yeah. So once again, you're coming to the same question. What would be the kind of relationship? I think already Jaishankar has been sent, and the foreign minister is already there. He obviously, the attempt would be to seek as early as possible, a meeting with Mr. Trump, one-to-one or a summit or some kind of a possibility where they can meet, so that if there is any misunderstanding or any issues pending, that can be ironed out. But then foreign policy is conducted at various other levels. It's not just personal relation. It's also what is that India has to offer, and what is that he expects from India, and what is America can offer to India. We are also not in a position, though we are nowhere, China in that sense. But then India also has its position it's the largest democracy, and we are, India has as much respect in the America as Indians have a one-to-one relation with Americans. So this there are about 3 lakh students who go there every year. There is a huge diaspora which is in the top 10 tech companies. At least 2 or 3 of them are headed by Indians. So there are many such issues which cannot be brushed away. Of course, for India, it will be a huge embarrassment if there are 18,000 or so immigrants who exhausted all legal, options are sent back. There are another 7,25,000 or something, who are in the illegal list. What Trump does with them can cause embarrassment depending on how it goes. But these are issues. But my feeling is that, though all these, the bigger task for him is elsewhere. As far as India is concerned, our concern would be how he moves on trade issues, how he handles the biggest problem is now going to be the global environment issue. What does he do? Because he doesn't believe in multilateralism. How are we going to handle that? Because it's going to be a big issue. The climate change is a real issue in which he doesn't seem to be paying any attention. In fact, Americans seem to think that their CO2 emissions have plateaued. So it's not that they have to do much. It's only the developing countries like who have a lot more energy needs and who use fossil fuels. They need to do. So if they want such thing, they should be paying for it. So there are a lot of negotiation which need to happen. So of course, as of now, his hands are, he seemed to have better leverage. But I think with time, this need to be negotiated by Indians strongly as well.
Absolutely.
Because
so over the next,
China is an issue, and they would need India to tackle that.
right. So over the next couple of hours, there'll be a lot of optics which will play out. All eyes would be on the executive orders on which Donald Trump signs. And do not forget to tune in to the Federal tomorrow morning. Also, you would see a stream of programs which we are planning. So please stay tuned to the Federal. And thanks so much, Professor Pasha, Sanjay Kapoor, Srinivasan sir. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.